2002, the 9/11 Commission was established under the leadership of Congressman Lee Hamilton and Governor Tom Kean.
It's a statutory commission created by the Congress, approved by the President. It had two purposes. One was to tell the story of 9/11. The second part of our mandate was to make recommendations to assure that we didn't have this experience again.
In all, there were 41 recommendations issued by the 9/11 Commission in July 2004. 13 leaders, including Commissioners Hamilton and Kean, gathered to devise a strategy to carry out the final recommendation, which is to streamline congressional oversight of the Department of Homeland Security.
We had a number of members of the commission, like Congressman Hamilton, who had served in the body, and they all said the same thing. This may be the toughest recommendation because Congress doesn't ever reform itself.
The oversight of Homeland Security is sprawling. In 2013, there were some 100 congressional subcommittees with legislative authority over its operation. Participants at the retreat discussed the real and significant consequences of this complex arrangement.
Well, when there are 100 subcommittees, it's easy for people to take a myopic view of just their little piece, and that's diffused and spread out over everything, and so nobody is looking at the big picture.
A fragmented oversight structure means conflicting direction, may be uncertainty about what Congress wants, and it certainly means a burden of appearing at hearings or producing paper for Congress that multiplies in a way that actually impedes the department's ability to focus on its operations. From Congress's standpoint, though, it's also a problem, because when many voices speak, it's like no voice speaks.
Retreat participants said that fragmented oversight poses an increased security risk for the United States. It prevents a structured focus on prevention, protection, and planning at a time when much more needs to be done.
So one example I use is I think we need to do a lot more with respect to private aircraft coming in from overseas that might be carrying a weapon of mass destruction if, God forbid, a terrorist were able to get his or her hands on that.
Unless the Congress is in a position to look at an issue like biological attacks in a strategic way and not just focus on the one piece of the problem that may be within the jurisdiction of a particular committee, you're not likely to get it right. So for 10 years, I think we've been distinctly less secure from a biological or chemical attack than we would have been had we had a more rational and targeted program of identifying the most serious threats and giving them the highest level of attention.
Still, retreat participants said that consolidated congressional oversight is essential to the creation of effective policy.
Our system of government works best if you have a strong executive and a strong Congress. The Congress asserting its power through oversight, checking to see that things are done as they were meant to be done.
Well, I think if you had a more streamlined oversight structure and you had fewer committees who are more focused and better versed in the issues facing DHS, you'd have more meaningful focus on those issues.
You need to have a central point of contact. So if the Secretary of DHS has a problem that he wants corrected, he or she may figure, well, I need more authority on this, that, or the other point. Or we have an abuse of authority somewhere. He's got to be able to go to one point for action.
The participants formed a task force to issue a final report on ways to implement the 9/11 Commission's recommendation to streamline congressional oversight.
Streamlining, consolidating, improving congressional oversight of the department and the departmental elements as opposed to of the individual components of the department is really, really important. And that's what's going to get the department, to be an equivalent or a peer, as it should be, to the Department of Defense or the Department of State and any of the other major national security, homeland security types of departments.
I think at the 10-year mark, the department needs to step back and stop looking at their function as an aggregation of the authorities and the jurisdictions of their components. I think we need to decide what the department needs to be, how the country needs to carry out its sovereign responsibilities, and we need to start building a department that moves to the future.
It's going to take internal pressure and utilizing our access to the Hill and to Congress and the Senate, but also trying to get others who are what I would call sort of customers or clients of the department, the governors, the mayors, the emergency managers. There's an organization that represents the 50 Homeland Security advisors. I had been one. And to try to get them to utilize the media, but also utilize their access points to the Hill to say, look, this is not, I really think it's not sustainable.
But having this meeting here at Sunnylands with a wide range of stakeholders who have been intimately involved in this over the past decade has, I think, really laid the groundwork for what can be potential change that will allow us to make some recommendations that will reduce that number of subcommittees to a more manageable number.
Making the change in such important areas is the mission of the Annenberg Retreat at Sunnylands.